This week's Extra Life on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by EXA. EXA brings the latest technology to gamers, offering the most immersive products for the ultimate gaming experience. They've compiled the best elements of cutting-edge ENC tech, the latest in Bluetooth 5.0 and 7.1 surround, plus extra features into their headsets so everyone can enjoy a sensational gaming experience. And they've got headsets for Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and PC. Plus, they won't break the bank. Learn more about the headsets that are available and any current promotions by going to f5live.tv/exa. Well, this week, the least surprising announcement of December was made, and that was that E3 is officially done. There has not been an E3 in several years now. The pandemic hit them hard because what we learned was that without E3, nothing changed. The experience of learning about new games and all of that changed. If it changed at all, it changed for the better, which was a massive blow to E3 that had at one point been like the high point of the year. But, you know, the big three started to realize that their participation wasn't entirely necessary. They could do their own events. You know, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft all have their own branded gaming showcases that they do several times a year. The studios have started doing their own showcases. So this one time everybody gets together to be in a room for a press conference where you can't actually write from there because, like what we experience at CES when too many of us get together, the cell towers die. So you end up writing later. So the people who are watching it remotely actually get their stuff up first, which isn't a win. And then when you get to the actual show floor, you stand in line for an hour and a half to play a 2.5 minute demo that doesn't make the thing you're writing any better. So you've just wasted time. So it really wasn't a better experience. You know, what they've done digitally the last couple of years, the Summer Games Fest, they show off a thing, a demo goes up on PlayStation or on Xbox or PC or wherever. Anybody can demo it, and you don't even have to put pants on to cover the press conference. I mean, overall, better experience. You know, we had our own negative experience with the organizers themselves. The group was just slow to adjust to changes in the industry. It was a mess. This was inevitable. But anytime something like this happens, there's always the question, is this an isolated incident or is it a harbinger of things to come? And of course, because we are like 2 weeks away from CES, the industry is pointing to CES and going, are they next? The answer is no. For a couple of reasons, not the least of which is CES isn't just about the media. It's where buyers go to put their hands on stuff. You know, the executives from Best Buy are going to walk the show floor to figure out what stuff they're going to carry for Christmas 2024. You know, it's more than just a media event, but also CES is not afraid to bob and weave. The way they handled the digital event in 2021 was as solid as it could have been for a panic situation. The hybrid event in 2022, again, best it could have been. When the internet started to really become a place that the media lived, they embraced it hard, while E3 went, I don't know, this internet might be a fad. CES isn't afraid to embrace trends, sometimes for the worse, the branding for CES 2024 is all AI generated, and I hate it. But it's they do embrace trends in the industry and around. So no, CES is not next. E3 was an isolated event because the people were terrible. That's my perspective on it. What do you think, Abram?
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue is that E3 games are a little bit easier to do remotely than a show that has so much hardware involved.
Yeah.
Uh, so I mean, unless we're just going to say that we no longer want to have trade shows at all, but if you're going to have trade shows, there, what I think one thing we learned during the height of the pandemic is you really can't substitute a virtual show. I mean, yeah, you're right. CES did an okay job,
As well
but
as they could
um,
have. They implemented a bad idea as well as they could.
it just like you just see the thing about trade shows. So first of all, the shows don't exist for the media. We're the media, so we think they exist for us.
Yeah.
And certainly people who are readers and viewers, they want to know what happened at CES because it's interesting to them. But they wouldn't hold these shows just to get some publicity. It's too expensive. They hold the shows to try to sell things, and not to
Mm-hmm.
sell things to the general public, not to sell
Right.
things to uh, to people, to individuals, but to sell them to buyers. Now, and most of the companies that are there at CS, there's a hallway for those who haven't been. There's like thousands of booths, and a lot of them are companies that have no interest in being covered by the media at all.
Mm-hmm.
They're like tiny little vendors who are selling, all kinds of little things, and they may not even be selling it under their own brand. It's like, oh yeah, do you want to make some case fans or something for computers? Yeah, we'll manufacture for you and put your name on it, or
Or
whatever.
they're
So
or they're making or they're making chipsets and sensors for other things.
right. So it's not so most of the stuff there is not that exciting. But I think it's really hard because now I don't know, and actually this I would be fascinated to one day meet someone whose job it is to go to CES and form like and buy as a buyer, to like buy stuff for, I guess, who are they buying it for? I mean, either they're buying it for a retailer,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which in the United States there aren't that many electronic retailers left,
I
um,
once I once had a
or
conversation with the vice president of product for Best Buy, standing in a booth at CES.
right. So the thing though that gets me is Best Buy doesn't like. Does Best Buy need to go to CES to see these things? I'm sure any company that they want would fly out to Best Buy headquarters and show them whatever they want.
But they get to discover things that they wouldn't know existed if they weren't just wandering the
See,
show floor. And that's the thing.
that's and that's what I want to say. It's the same thing for the media, right? Like it's the discovery of things. And the when you have an online show, there's no discovery because everything is the same. So the press material everybody gets is the same. The answers people get are the same. You don't learn anything.
Yeah.
That
There's no
so it's
walking down
boring.
There's no the two of us walking down a hallway, an aisle together, having a conversation, and both seeing this weird watch off to the side and going, "What's that?"
Yeah, right. So right, there's nothing, so I don't know. Does the Best Buy buyer go down and say, "Oh, what's that? Maybe I want to stock it at Best Buy." Uh, I mean, I'm sure that's
Yes.
what the sellers are hoping for.
It absolutely
is to be
happens.
discovered like that.
It's how I
So
ended up talking to the person from Best Buy. Is we were both at a little booth at a little stall, and both of us had stopped and gone, "What's this?" And yeah, and we started talking because the one person at the booth was talking to somebody else, and so he and I started talking. So I'm like, "Oh, you're actually with Best Buy, not just have the logo on your thing like the rest of us."
yeah, so that's, I mean, that's, it's pretty cool that you have that kind of thing going on, and that, and but I don't know. Is that what did that happen at E3? Was there a possibility for that to happen at E3 even?
See, E3 was a media event, and that was part of its problem. Is they didn't understand what a trade show was because, you know, it's not like there was some little publisher there with a booth in the corner and an executive from GameStop was going to walk by and go, "We need to carry your thing." Because if they were going to put it on a disc and have it available for consoles, a publisher was doing that. And that publisher had already contacted GameStop. So the buyers had no value there. Maybe that's where somebody from Microsoft starts talking to somebody from Bethesda about buying the company, but probably not. It was a media
Right.
event. And that's just a circus because it's not like. So, yes, CES is a media event in addition to a lot of other things, but there's oddities with the media there. At E3, everybody's there to cover the games that are announced, maybe to get a scoop from talking to somebody, but you don't get to talk to a whole lot of people, so probably not. But at CES, you've got scouting producers from Shark Tank. You've got, there's all this oddity, even just in the media, walking around Eureka Park going, "Hey, Robbie, tell me about this. Do you maybe want to come on Shark Tank? Let me get you an application. Let's get started." There's interesting stuff that happens there that may not happen. Again, it's the wandering around and going, "What's this?" That makes it interesting, and lots of different types of people wandering around going, "What's at your booth?" There was none of that at E3.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing. Obviously, when we go to the show, we live for finding the things that we weren't supposed to find. People putting stuff, both things that are out there and we just hadn't heard of because the company is so small, or companies that we do know, but they put something on display that maybe they shouldn't have, or it happens every time.
Somebody
I mean,
packed
to some
something in a
extent.
box that wasn't supposed to, and so somebody at the
I
trade show
mean,
put it out.
some of them are a little bit flippant about it. I mean, there's companies that we know that, for example, like they can show. It's a little bit of a wink nod. Like they can show. Now, maybe this isn't that important from like a news you can use perspective, but we live for it. Um, they'll have a laptop and they'll say, "Oh, this laptop has the neck." We can't tell you because we're under embargo with Intel or something, or we're under embargo with Nvidia. But this laptop has the next generation Intel CPU or the next generation Nvidia GPU, and they'll leave it there on the table. And then we will go and we'll go into Device Manager in
Yeah.
Windows, and we'll try to see what it says, and we'll take a picture of it, and that'll be a scoop. Like first, 15th gen, whatever Intel CPU laptop shown, right?
See, and
Never mind that.
that's why Intel
Yeah,
announced their new processors now instead of at CES. They're just trying to get out ahead of
uh,
that.
yeah, I suppose, but what's the next one after? Whatever the next one after. I mean, uh, this is the the one for kind of thin and light laptops. I think they may have more coming for gaming laptops or things like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, right. It's stuff like that that you look for, or there was a company that makes motherboards, and they had a bunch of motherboards hanging on the wall, and some of the motherboards that were hanging on the wall had like a chipset that hasn't been announced yet or something. Like, what can we really do with it? Not much, but here's a picture of
Uh-huh.
you know, here's a picture of this motherboard with a chipset that hasn't officially been announced yet, or whatever. So, um, you know, that kind of stuff just doesn't happen virtually. But even just getting a little bit of helpful insight, like, oh yeah, I picked up this keyboard or whatever, and I noticed this, and when I asked about that, it doesn't happen. Like, even
Yeah.
when they had that, I have to say that, like, it was pretty terrible. Like, I forget which event it was. Was it Pepcom or Showstoppers or one of those where they had a virtual event, and then you could like go into a chat room and chat with the company. And
Uh-huh.
I think one of the companies, like, they'd come out with something really simple like a charger, and I had a question about it, and they're like, "Yeah, so here's the press release." Didn't even like, you know. But
Yeah.
I read the press release. I had another question that wasn't covered in. You
Yeah.
know?
See, for us, digital CES wasn't for the live show. It wasn't really all that different, except I couldn't reach across the table and touch the demos. Uh, but it was me or Todd or Chris, or Alante or Marlo talking to somebody and asking questions. It was essentially this, right? Which is I'm facing this way, and at CES I face this way. It's but yeah, with no floor stuff and no ability to touch the things, it really does change the experience significantly. But with games, it's all digital. Yes, sure. Nyko could put out a new controller. Wouldn't it be nice to put your hands on it? Well, they're going to be at PAX. So, put your hands on it at PAX, right? Or maybe they'll send you one. You know, the number of things I'm going to have for people we're going to talk to on the live show at CES this year in the next week is unbelievable. Like E3 could have worked this, gaming can work the same way, and it does. So stuff like the Summer Games Show, and interestingly, the Video Game Awards, which aren't an awards show anymore, they're just an E3 press conference, which I find fascinating. That kind of stuff is going to fill in the gap just fine. Yes, I got to go to E3 kind of prestige isn't going to exist anymore, but I don't care. I wasn't
Yeah.
happy about it. The best part of the whole thing was going to the Sony press conference with Cherie, and then driving down to the Santa Monica Pier together. Like, it's a games conference. It's the thing I live for. I own a gaming center, and the highlight of E3 for me was driving down to the pier with Cherie in the middle of the night. Like, that's not a
That should be
great
the highlight of
sign.
every. I think
That's
that's always
true.
the highlight. But yes,
True,
but
true, true.
beyond that, yes, E3 can eat. So yeah, I mean, nobody misses it. Uh,
Yeah,
I guess that's the extent of it.
indeed. So we'll see how Summer Game Show and the Video Game Awards in 2024 pick up the slack. I think the Summer Game Show has picked up the slack for the last 3 years anyway. It's basically been E3 press conferences, and then the big three have been doing their own things anyway. The Microsoft Bethesda showcase, the state of play from Sony. They do a great job of putting stuff in your hands throughout the year. So I think the experience has gotten better without it, and I think in a couple of years we won't even really remember it as an important part of the past. So long, E3. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course, hit the notification bell because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.